is going to be the next commitment for the Oklahoma Sooners? Because we just came off an official visit weekend where we hosted a 5-star defensive lineman in Williams Winery. You had a 5-star cornerback in Kobe Black, but then you had some other important recruits along the offensive line and other positions that were also on campus. And everybody's kind of sitting around going, okay, when's the next commitment, right? As Oklahoma fans, we do get a little antsy. So today we're here to kind of throw it out there. Who could the next commitment be? When could we see it? And yeah, we're going to talk about it. But guys, go ahead, jump down in the comments below and let me know what y'all's thoughts are. Who do you think the next commitment for the Oklahoma Sooners is going to be? So after this last official visit weekend, obviously there is a little bit of hype around some of the recruits that were on campus. And you've kind of heard from people on the radio and from some of the other insiders that, hey, like Oklahoma might have a commitment coming here pretty quickly. And some of the names that were thrown around were a guy that has received a ton of future cast and crystal balls, and Zion Ragins, the 4-star wide receiver. And the question is he going to take his visit to Georgia, right? If he doesn't take his visit to Georgia, then I think you're pretty safe to assume that he's going to end up in this class for Oklahoma and he'll end up committing. But then you heard of names like Grant Brix, the 4-star offensive lineman out of Iowa, who, listen, just a good old country boy and a guy that a lot of people think could be a 5-star by the end of this cycle because, well, he's just that good. Now, for Grant Brix, you're having to fight off teams like Nebraska and Notre Dame. But you've heard Parker talk about how Grant Brix has scheduled an official visit to Alabama, and he doesn't have an Alabama offer yet. So Grant Brix, I'm not 100% sure you're getting a commitment from right now. I think out of the visitors on the 9th, the only likely ones that I think you would get a commitment out of soon would be Zion Ragins, maybe an Eli Bowen, because I know we've kind of been waiting on that one for a while because we all kind of expected, hey, since Peyton Bowen's on campus, Eli Bowen is sure to follow. But there were some other recruits that were on campus for the Oklahoma Sooners, and I don't think they're anybody that we need to look over, right? I think one of them could be the 3-star edge rusher, Fox Crater, that is currently committed to Oregon. Potentially look at him. And then you've also got Eugene Brooks, the inside offensive lineman, 6'3", 320 pounds from Sierra Canyon in Chatsworth, California. Currently the 588th ranked player in the 247 composite. For a guy like Eugene Brooks, it kind of makes sense to, all right, if I want to be here, I need to shut it down early, kind of like what Isaiah Autry did, because you're a 3-star offensive lineman, and Oklahoma feels pretty good with several top 175 players and offensive linemen in this class, and you're going to have to just secure your spot. But you guys know my take on this. I think Oklahoma should take at least 5 or 6 offensive linemen in this class because you're losing at least 5 or potentially 5 to the NFL draft, graduation, just because they don't have enough eligibility left. So they'll probably all end up going to the draft. And only one of those guys in Tyler Guyton will have 1 year of eligibility left, but he has a good year. You would expect that Tyler Guyton would be in the league. So if Eugene Brooks wants a spot on the team, then he probably needs to lock it down early, because once the dominoes start to fall for the offensive line, you would expect that that's going to come together for the Sooners really quickly. Now, we have the Champion Barbecue coming up, and the Champion Barbecue is going to be interesting because I think this is where you're really probably going to see the bulk of commitments come from Oklahoma, because it's just a star-studded list. Now, we're not going to dive into that list today, but I will kind of give you guys an updated class prediction that I think of who will be in here based off what's happening with the Champion Barbecue, who came on the 9th, things like that. But on the 9th, in terms of offensive linemen, you've got Bennett Warren, Max Anderson, and Caden Massey. So out of all of those options, Caden Massey's probably the most likely of them, probably to commit at this time. I don't think Bennett Warren will be a part of this class. I think he's either going to be Michigan or Tennessee. And then if you follow Max Anderson on Twitter, you would see that he's a Tennessee guy as well. Now, another guy that a lot of Sooner fans have kind of pointed to and saying, hey, when is this kid going to commit? And that's going to be the 4-star edge rusher, Ja'Shawn Ross. And we know that Ja'Shawn Ross obviously likes Oklahoma a little bit because the dude is just Yeah. He's that dude for Oklahoma right now on Twitter, and he thinks he's a better recruiter than any coach is. So, yeah, we'll have to see kind of where that one lands with Ja'Shawn Ross. But ultimately, I kind of went through and I broke it down and I looked at the updated predictions for the class. And ultimately, I think you end up with Williams Nwaneri, David Stone, and the tight end in 2025. What's his name? Totally blanking right now. You guys know who I'm talking about. Michael Hawkins' teammate. You expect him to be in this class. He'll potentially be a 5-star as well. So that looks like it gives Oklahoma at that point currently what would be 5-stars in this class. Now, you do have Taylor Tatum, who is right on the border of being a 5-star. And then you also have, like I said, Grant Brix, who I think a lot of people think could be a 5-star. So obviously, I think those two are going to be in your class. Kind of gave it away a little bit there. And then additionally, you have Nigel Smith, Caden Durham, Zion Ragins, Casey Poe. You know what? I'm going to jump on the bandwagon with you guys and say Danny Okoye is a part of this class. You have Eddie Pierre-Louis. You have Braden Platt. You have Ja'Shawn Ross, James Nesta, Eli Bowen, Jaden Jackson, Devon Jordan, Michael Boganowski, Caden Massey, DeAndre Cook, and Michael Patterson McDonald. So that's where I think the class ultimately ends up for Oklahoma. And listen, if we were to land all those recruits today and the recruit, like let's say the 2024 cycle ended, Oklahoma would be number one at 298.98 on the composite score. Now, we obviously know that they're probably not going to be number one, even with the 298.98, just because Georgia right now is sitting number one with 18 commits, and they're like 280 something. So likely Oklahoma will not get the number one spot, but 298 could put them in the top three. I mean, I think Texas was like 298 something last year, and they were number 3. So Oklahoma could literally be right there at the end of this cycle. So you're going into Champion Barbecue, really big weekend, and you already have several of your committed prospects and then other prospects that are going to be at the Champion Barbecue on campus this week for these Brent Venables football camps, which is big, right? Because you've got the players there where maybe the coaches can't recruit at a high level, but the players can. So maybe a guy like Caden Durham, maybe he meets a Gavin Sawchuk or a Javante Barnes or a Tawi Walker during this time. And they're really able to talk to him about the culture of Oklahoma and what it's like to play running back here. Maybe try to get him committed, right? Same thing of what you're seeing with Ja'Shawn Ross. Ja'Shawn Ross is here as well. Maybe he meets a Jonah Laulu or Ethan Downs or somebody like that, and they're able to convince him to get to the University of Oklahoma. So a lot of opportunities for Oklahoma to really just start spurting off commits. I think you're not going to see it right after the Champion Barbecue, but I think you'll probably see 3 or 4 commitments within 2.5 weeks after the Champion Barbecue. I think you'll start to see this class really start to take off and really blossom. And then, of course, by the end of the party at the Palace, I think if you're Oklahoma, you probably got 15, 16 commits at that point, or maybe even trying to touch 20, and you've got a majority of your class committed. I think a lot of what you're going to be waiting on is defensive linemen, because we know Nigel Smith is not going to be committing till the 3rd week of August or September, because it's going to be his senior night, which I will be out there for that game. Potentially Williams Nwaneri is going to be waiting that long. And I know a lot of people want Joseph Jonah Ajonye. I don't think he'll be in this class anymore, but he's an August 1st commitment. I'm not sure where Jaden Jackson and DeAndre Cook land, but I would assume they're probably going to be somewhere in the August to September range as well. I would assume, though, David Stone's going to commit before September. I'm assuming he'll probably commit in that July to August timeframe. And once David Stone's here in this class, that's where you're really going to start to see the recruiting pick up. So, guys, I want to hear from you. Jump down in the comments below. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are. Who do you think the next commitment for Oklahoma is going to be? And when do you think it comes? Do you think it comes here in a couple days, a couple weeks? Jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts.